Hi, Mary.
Hello. Hi, Pooja. How are you?
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So I'll
Okay.
quickly start by introducing myself to everybody who's joining our live and to you. So I am Mehreen from Orion Square. I'll be hosting today's event, and it's all about fast fashion and the impact that it has on our world, and the impact it will have in the future too, obviously, right? So this event is an initiative taken by Orion Square, specifically the VONG movement. We like to call ourselves the Vongol, so I would be a Vongol because I'm part of this movement. So to give you guys a quick background on what VONG really is, it stands for Voice of New Generation, and we do exactly what our name says, our movement says. It's designed to bolster the voice of the new generation. So I, along with the rest of my team, we encourage the youth community of Wong, and we like to call everybody who joins in as Wongsters, to develop well-founded opinions based on provided prerequisite knowledge on solutions related to global issues that have direct consequences on our Earth. Also, like sustainable development goals. So that's what we directly focus on. We also work as a medium for amplifying the youth's voice and opinions so we base them to the civil society and policymakers. So that's what we do in a quick nutshell. You can also like find out more about us. You can visit our page, Orion Square, to know more information, or just send us a DM. So today, let's meet Pooja Shubhash. She is all about sustainability, sustainable living. So I'll just give you guys a quick introduction on her, and she can like talk more about what she does. So she loves traveling. So through slow and responsible travel, she is striving to simplify her life, live sustainably, and experience nature. She has been transitioning into a more sustainable and minimalistic lifestyle since 2014 by avoiding uses of plastics, building a non-toxic home, and buying less. And I know that currently she's working on some pretty cool new things. So Pooja, I think you should talk about it.
Yeah. So I started my journey back in 2014 because so my mom was sick and she had cancer, and I was wondering how did she get it, because she used to always eat at home. So that was surprising, and
Right.
so that's how I got into it, to figure out like what was going on, and that's when I got to know about the effects of pesticides
Mm-hmm.
and all the chemicals that are there in our houses. So
Yeah.
so then it was a big maze where once you start reading about something, and then you really understand what all is going on. So I started buying organic food, and even started trying to, have a kitchen garden and stuff. But it wasn't something that I could retain for too long. So I started shopping organic food, and then got into climate change related stuff, and it was overwhelming. So
Right.
around 2000, around during the pandemic time is when I started Human and Earth, and the idea was to, just inspire people to live more consciously, and instead of, buying more and more, which is currently how the market runs, currently how the world runs.
Yeah.
But, instead of buying so many things, just have more experiences and recognize how our everyday actions are impacting the world.
Yeah.
So that's the idea. So a lot more to do in there.
For
Uh,
sure. I mean, that's a great
right.
start. Great
Thank
initiative.
you.
Yeah.
Also, right now, locally, I recently moved to Goa about 3-4 months back, and now I'm kind of partnering with a local eco store, and just trying to work out some sustainable events there, like fashion swap, or just workshops and stuff. So that's in the basket. I'm also working
Yeah.
on some ways to help small scale, like small business owners, to be more tech savvy, because there's so many things that they don't, it's not very mainstream, but there's so many things that you can do now with technology. So
That's right. You're
that's
also a
something
web
that I'm
designer,
working on.
right?
Yes, I
That's
am.
something
Yeah.
you also do. Yeah, that's
Yes.
pretty
Yeah.
cool. That's great. I think you're the perfect fit to talk about this because there's so
Thank you.
much going on in the world. And you're right, we do buy so much things we don't even need, especially during the holiday season, like now.
Oh yeah.
So it's the
Yeah.
perfect time to talk about fast fashion. Pooja, like what is fast fashion? For people who don't know what it is, can you just help us get to know a little bit about the term fast fashion?
Yeah, sure. So, fast fashion is basically a business model that the fashion industry has taken up after, I think, in the 2000s. From then on, what they do is they are mass producing, and earlier days we just had like 2 seasons of clothing. The collection used to come. There used to be a winter collection and a summer collection. That's about it.
Yeah.
And instead now there are up to 52, 53 collections in a year, which is
Wow.
almost one collection per week. So they basically,
Wow.
yeah, so they basically create a sense of urgency. So if you go shopping, you see something that you like, you can't be sure if that's going to be there the next time you go because the next collection is going to take over. So
Like
you have
next
that,
week. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So the sense of urgency kicks in and you shop. And also it's all about the trends. So
Mm,
they don't care about quality, and most of this clothing is extremely affordable. The costs are very low, so and they have like offers every now and then, so it just motivates people to buy more, even though they don't want it.
that's
Uh,
true. Yeah. The
so
sales are so tempting sometimes.
it is, yeah,
Yeah.
and we as Indians have this thing, we are always looking for the right bargain. It kind of gives a
Yeah.
high. Shopping actually gives the same kind of dopamine kick that drugs give.
Wow.
So yeah, so they play with all those
Yeah.
psychological tactics, and you end up buying.
Hmm.
So fast fashion has a lot of issues, especially when it comes to the effect that it has on the planet and on people. So coming to climate change itself, fashion industry actually causes 10% of the emissions. So that's a
That's a big number.
huge, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
big number.
Yeah.
And if you see the way the whole industry is organized, how it works is, um, it's usually brands like H&M, Zara, that we all know. Uh, it's
Hmm.
it's all over India now.
Yeah.
Um, so what they do is they outsource their work to smaller nations. Like there's a lot of manufacturing that happens in India, Bangladesh, China, and uh, the way they outsource it is that they give it to a contractor and then they subcontract it further. And the only criteria that they think about is who's going to give you the cheapest bid. So
Hmm.
when you're going in that model, a lot of times they don't even know where this clothing is being made, who are their workers, what conditions are they in. Uh, it's none of their concern. So it's just the cheapest factory that's going to build it, is going to
Right.
make it, is that's it, that's the only criteria. So that leads to a lot of human issues as well, like people don't get paid even the minimum wages. They end up working like overtime more than 12
Yeah.
hours,
Yeah.
because there's this time constraint, every week you have to churn out stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, and also the chemicals. They don't care about how the effluents are treated or not. They're released into
Hmm.
the water. You see all this, foam in Yamuna, and it's no surprise that it's happening. So
Yeah.
yeah, so there's a lot of issues with fast fashion, and the biggest issue is the overproduction of it, because every week if you're producing so much clothing, and the next week you're replacing it, what happens to all that clothing? You're not going to sell all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of it gets incinerated as well, or a lot of it goes into the landfill. So it's a huge problem, and
Right.
and I mean, we as customers have a lot of power to actually solve it. So bringing awareness really helps. So you're really doing a good job with that.
Thank you. You talked about how fast fashion is a business model, right? And you were also talking about trends. Now, I feel like social media and fast fashion are like related. Like social media really helped fast fashion get to the industry where it is now because there are
True.
brands like I'm sure everyone has heard of like Instagram brands like Fashion Nova, like they do the same thing. So how do you
Yeah.
think, like, what is the impact really of social media and it revolutionizing the industry, the fast fashion industry?
Yeah, I think social media, especially Instagram, is extremely visual. So
Yeah.
you don't want to be seen in the same clothing again. So that's something in everybody's mind. Every time they're clicking a picture, they're going for a trip, they have a whole new wardrobe,
Yeah.
and and then it's kind of disposable because they don't use it again. So,
Hmm.
so you see all these pretty things and you just want it.
Yeah.
That happens to everyone. You go shopping and you see a pretty skirt and you're like, I want this, but you don't really think, what are you going to wear it with, or is it going to suit uh,
Yeah.
your rest of your wardrobe or anything of that sort. So, social media, especially, there is this concept of hauls. There will be influencers who would just purchase from these brands like Shein. Oh my God, Shein is even
Yeah.
worse than the regular fashion brand. Apparently, they release 700 to 1,000 styles every day. Every
That's a big
day.
number every
That's
day.
huge. Every day. So that's,
That's
you always
crazy.
have something new. You always have something
Yeah.
new, and you're just buying. So it's
Yeah, I
it's
think the
crazy.
biggest takeaway is that it's not good material. It's not
Yes.
sourced from the right places. So I think
Yes.
we really have to think. I think this is also targeted towards the youth because a lot of the youth are on social media platforms,
Yes.
and they see it on Instagram, Facebook, wherever, and they're like, yeah, we instantly want to buy it. And even like the whole buying process is so easy. It's just a couple of clicks and done. It's
Yeah.
gonna come to your house, right? So yeah, I think like especially for young people, don't buy it, okay? Think about it like 5 times before buying it. Because it has such a like bad impact on the world, right? Like there's
Yes.
also a lot of waste going in. So like maybe you could brief us on the different kinds of like the entire process of making like clothes because I don't think people understand there are so many
Yeah. Yeah.
processes that goes through just making like a jacket.
Yeah.
So could you talk to us about that?
Sure. Sure. So when it comes to clothing industry as an industry, it's very biased towards cotton and polyester or other synthetic fibers.
Hmm.
So this is what dominates most almost the whole of fashion industry, and both of these are really bad. So cotton is extremely water intensive. For cultivating cotton, it it takes, just to make a jeans, one pair of jeans, it takes you around 7,000 plus liters of water, which is
Oh
insane.
wow.
Yeah, and the amount of pesticides that go into cultivating cotton is
Hmm.
another issue. In fact, India has a lot of. It's one of the biggest producers of cotton, and because of the amount of fertilizers and uh, pesticides that are needed, it's one of the causes for all these issues that the farmers are facing, because the soil loses its value. It's not fertile enough, and you're dependent on synthetic fertilizers to get get something out of it. So you're spending more on it. And all these chemicals are also flowing down into your waterways, which is bad for the people who are living around it. It's bad for the farmers because they are literally spraying these
Yeah.
pesticides. It
Yeah.
is insane. Like the statistics says that uh, cotton is grown on 2.5% of arable land in globally, but it takes up 10% of all agricultural chemicals.
Oh
So
my
that's
God.
that's huge, and
Yeah.
it also has so many other issues like there's a lot of child labor that go happens in cotton industry because you need to take the cotton out from the this pod. If you see in a cotton pod, you have to
Yeah.
take the
Yeah. Yeah.
cotton out. So they use children to take it out, like a lot of people, even though it's illegal. So that happens in a lot of countries. I'm not talking just about India,
Yeah.
but there are documented cases of these things happening, and then so that's just the base of it, where you're just making the raw material, Then when it
Yeah.
goes into creating fabric, the dyes are another big issue.
Yeah.
uh, like the 20% of worldwide water waste comes because of dyeing and treatment. So
Okay.
yeah, and so you have to understand the water that we're using is fresh water, so that's already limited, and using
Yeah,
so
that's
much
the
of
resource
it.
for us, and there is
Yes,
like
yeah,
not an
yeah,
abundance of fresh water
exactly,
because there's
yes,
so
yeah,
many like countries, in like who don't have access to fresh water.
yes, yes, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that
So that's
sucks.
crazy, yeah.
That's a lot of
And
water
it
when you
is,
really
yeah,
think about
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And that's just to make one pair of jeans, you said, right?
yeah. That's
Yeah,
insane. So
that's
that's why it's,
insane.
yeah, that's why it's very important that you think about it. Do you really want something, or just are you just buying it for the thrill? Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, so
I mean, I'm really glad you gave that statistics to us because um, I always assumed that cotton materials are like the best kind of materials to buy. But I think a lot of us don't know that this is what actually happens,
yeah, yeah,
because we don't see all of that and neither do companies talk about this.
they don't.
And it's crazy when you really think about it that that's a lot of water to just waste on one
Yeah.
shirt that you're going to wear twice and that's it.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's just cotton. I know other materials like synthetic fabrics,
Yeah.
rayon, they actually use oil,
Yes.
right? They use crude
Yeah.
oil, which is
They use crude oil.
probably worse, I guess, because oil
There's
is
a
just
debate about it.
okay.
Like, if you have to choose between the two, the amount of water that gets wasted because of cotton is probably more damaging. Both are damaging, but then there
Both
is a
are
debate
equally,
going on.
I don't know if it's equally damaging, but they're both definitely
Both are damaging,
damaging.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. But then when it comes to polyester, there are certain things that you do need polyester, like for example, if you need something to be waterproof, you need it. So in those
Right.
cases, maybe recycled works. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
but not a lot of
I
people do that.
Yeah, not a lot of people do that. I think there's also I was just reading up on this on like viscose and rayon. So they actually use wood pulp,
Yeah,
right? And so
yeah.
you can tell us more about it, like the whole process of how they get that wood pulp, etc., to just make the
I'm
material and fabric.
I'm not very sure on rayon what is the whole process of it, but
Okay.
apparently it's more damaging than anything else. I
Yeah, so
remember reading it a long time ago.
yeah. What I read was that they basically just threaten forests, so they cut out trees and everything. And 70% of the wood pulp that they get from chopping out all these trees are gone to waste, and they only use 30% of it for the fabric,
Oh,
like rayon and viscose, which is a like 70 to 30 ratio. That's very bad. Like, why are we cutting
yeah,
down trees
yeah,
if 70% of it is going to waste, right? So
yeah.
that's, I think, another thing. Maybe don't buy clothes that have, such threatening fabrics. in them.
Yeah, which kind of narrows down, options.
It does. It does. But I think you were talking about recycling. I don't know if a lot of people do this. Like, I know a lot of people donate clothes, but I don't think they really think about recycling clothes because we're often taught, like, recycle your plastic, or like your glass. Like, there are bins for that, right? But I don't think there are bins for donating clothes, but they're not, like, I don't think people really recycle their clothes. So how
Uh,
can we recycle clothes and.
so in India, there are companies that do recycle clothes, use recycled materials to remake something.
Mm-hmm.
But recycling clothes directly as an individual is very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are donation centers, but it's not that common.
Mm-hmm.
So donation also is not always a good option. Depends, uh, because see the statistics just says how much we are buying. So so you can imagine how much gets donated as well. So it's not a small amount. There's too much material and there isn't enough demand for it. So a lot of it ends up getting incinerated or it goes to the landfill. So donation is not always a good option, but there are other ways of reusing what you have and giving more life to what you already have, like the clothing that you already have. Like you could exchange it, have a clothing swap with friends and family, and so that kind of can be a fun girls' night
Yeah.
activity as well. You
Yeah,
just
yeah,
meet
yeah.
up and have a clothing swap, relive the
Yeah.
sisterhood of jeans, denim kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
You talked about that these, like most of the clothes that we throw out, recycle, etc., they end up in landfills, right? And
not
so they get,
yeah, not recycled as such. I mean to say the things that you donate, not everything actually gets to a person because there's too
right.
much.
Okay. So then whatever is left, which is a big chunk you're saying ends
Yeah,
up in landfills, right? And
landfills
so
or
what is,
incinerate. Yeah. Hmm.
okay. So what,
Yeah,
so obviously they get like disposed, burnt. How's
yeah.
that like what happens there? Like we want to know a little bit more about that.
About the incineration.
Yeah, and landfills and stuff.
So landfills though is, I mean, there's nothing much to say about it. They just dump it, and there are like places in India which is among the world's biggest landfill. They have those reputations. But incineration is another issue because you are again releasing carbon back into the atmosphere,
Right.
and all the resources that you've used uh, for from farming to the industrial effort, uh, the all those chemicals going into the water. So all of that is going wasted, and you're just burning it. So it's a huge loss, I would say.
Yeah,
But
to the planet, for sure.
yes, but recycling also is not very easy. That's the problem with plastics as well because
Yeah.
it's expensive to recycle, and
Mm.
recycling is more like a business model again. So they'll only recycle things that make sense to them. The biggest problem is that making new plastic is just extremely cheap. So
Yeah.
so it just defeats everything else. So when you recycle, it's more expensive. So obviously the clothing that comes after recycling is also not cheap. It's expensive. It can never compete with fast fashion or with the new uh, polyester clothing that's coming out.
I
So
see.
so that's the problem.
Um, so you talked about recycled material, right? So buy clothes that come from recycled material, but are fabrics that are made from recyclable material more sustainable?
So you have to pick and choose, where you're using it. Now, simply buying a polyester top, uh, of recycled polyester top, I don't think makes a lot of sense. But if you
Mm-hmm.
want something which has to be waterproof, or something that is like, for example, backpacks, uh, you in those cases it makes sense to use, in which case you have to go for synthetic fiber anyways. So in that case, you go for a recycled option. That just makes a lot of sense. But otherwise, I would suggest to go for other sustainable uh, fabrics, or you can also go for secondhand, or you can rent. There are like so many options that you can do. Uh, if you don't want to invest on sustainable brands and fabrics and all of that, then there are other options. There are always solutions that suit every person.
Right, right. Another major thing I want to talk about, which I see a lot of brands doing, is greenwashing. Yeah, no
Sorry,
problem.
I got cut for a second.
No problem. I'll repeat myself. I see a lot of brands being
Yeah.
conscious and everything, but I feel it all comes under a big label of greenwashing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's a big thing. Uh,
Right.
Second. Yeah, so greenwashing basically is a term used to show that, you know, if you see a lot of brands, if once you have the label of sustainable, then the prices are higher, and
Mm-hmm.
people feel better buying them. So
Right.
so the idea is to use that against people, to showcase that my brand is sustainable, please buy from me.
But
So
it's not actually sourced from sustainable materials.
a lot of things are very top level. They might be doing, there was in fact a documentary, not a documentary, it was like a talk that I listened to, in which they were saying that it's written as 100% 100% cotton, or 100% organic cotton, or something like that. And what they were actually talking about was just the tag, not the not the
Not,
fabric, not the
wow.
clothing, just the tag. That's like an extreme level
That's
of
very
greenwashing.
misleading. Yeah.
Exactly. So so a lot of brands do that. In fact, if you see now, H&M had recently come up with the recycling thing, that you can, I don't think it started in India, but you can go and submit your clothes for recycling,
Mm-hmm.
and you get like a coupon, and you can buy more with it.
Yeah.
But I
Like
mean,
they
that
give you a
doesn't
discount for your next
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 purchase.
buy, which is just
Yeah,
like a psychological thing because then
exactly,
you're just getting
exactly.
discount to buy more clothes.
Yeah,
So
basically
it's
they're just
yeah.
helping you make more space in your wardrobe so that you can buy more stuff. That's it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they, I mean, that doesn't make them a sustainable brand.
Right.
So yeah, other than that, so when you think of sustainable brands, the way you can identify them is, they'll be very transparent. Whatever it is,
Okay.
they'll be transparent. Like, these are our processes. This is how we do it. These are the people. This is where it is manufactured. They're transparent about it. And what are their values? They're very clear on it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So how
so,
would you say that's different from like H&M doing their sustainable clothing?
so you have to see the big picture.
Okay.
So H&M is the, what to say, the poster child of fast fashion. So
Mm-hmm.
just by starting one small thing of, we'll recycle your clothing, at the same time launching every week a new collection, is, you know,
It's funny.
it's funny.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the fact that they are even putting the effort to do something like this shows
Mm-hmm.
that people are getting more aware of it. The awareness is increasing, which is great.
Right.
So that's good. But yeah, we can't call them sustainable.
So they're
Uh,
not sustainable. So like,
no.
can you just talk a little bit more in detail? Like if I am going to a shop like what can I exactly spot to know immediately that, okay, yeah, this is a sustainable brand, like a legit sustainable brand?
Yeah, so different brands have different values. So
Mm-hmm.
there will be some brands who concentrate more on the environmental effects. So they'll be using natural dyes. The fabric that is used would be more sustainable. Like they might be using bamboo or hemp. And there are some really new ways of, new kind of fabric that is good. Then they'll be transparent about. They won't have too many collections. They'll be very
Mm-hmm.
uh, small collection, but good
Like
quality.
limited, good quality.
Yeah,
Okay.
good quality. Usually there'll be classic styles, which is not
Mm-hmm.
according to the trend or anything, which something which you can use through years. You can use it for several years. And pricing is another thing that it will not be cheap for sure. If you want to
Okay.
do all these things and you want to pay proper wages to your employees, to the workers, then it cannot be cheap. It's just not
Yeah,
possible.
that's not
So
possible.
yeah, so that's basically one way of identifying if it's fast fashion or not. Is first of all, with the price you can have a little bit idea. Secondly, the fabrics that is used and how transparent they are, and how often they release new collections,
Okay.
um, and quality. This would
Quality.
give you a pretty good idea to start off with, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still a difficult thing to identify. It takes time. There
Yeah.
are international organizations who kind of there is Cooperation B, which is like a, what to say, it's like a standard. They kind of rank companies for how sustainable they are, but not
Oh,
all
okay.
companies can get there, because most of sustainable brands are like small companies.
Like
They're
indie
not
brands.
they're not
Okay.
too big. So yeah, they're really small
Mm.
to reach there. But there are some international brands that are really good. There's this Patagonia, which has always been on the top. They have such amazing practices. They not only do they use recycled materials, they also, anytime, they sell jackets and winter wear and trekking stuff. So anytime you have an issue with your product, you can just take it to them and they'll repair it for you, free of cost. They'll repair it for you. Then say you're done, you want to sell it, they have a reselling option as well. So they'll sell it for
Okay.
you. They'll take it, they'll repair it, they'll sell it for you. So
That's great.
it's amazing. Yeah, they do a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. So there are brands, you can see what is their social initiatives that they're taking. So they'll usually be very transparent. So when you check out their website, they'll
Like you'll
give a lot of
immediately know.
information. Yeah, you would know.
Okay.
If
Okay.
if it, the language itself will speak for it, because a brand that is hiding things will not touch a lot of things. They'll just
Yeah. Or we'll
be,
write it in very
beating
fine
around the
print,
bush.
which,
Yeah.
yeah, which nobody reads anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
So Pooja, I want to get to the solutions. Like how can we actually stop fast fashion? Because a lot of the times, it's great to be aware that a problem exists, but I think it's equally important to know how you can fix this problem, right? I think we're at a time where we actually need solutions. So
Yeah.
what do you think we can do? And I want to target this mainly at the youth because they're the leaders, right, of
Yeah.
the future. And especially with fast fashion, I feel like if the youth can get involved, that would be great because a lot of this is like through social media. A lot of it is like more heightened towards the youth. So what do you think like the youth can do or just people in general can do to really like tackle this problem?
I think generally reducing your consumption is the first step, and there are
Okay.
different ways of doing it. A lot of times we buy things that don't even look good on us. We end up buying
Yeah.
something that looks good in a picture, or on a model, and we end up buying it, and then we wear it, we don't like it, it's just lying in our cupboard. So building a sense of style for yourself, what suits you, what colors suit you, what styles suit you, instead of following trends randomly, build if you spend time and build your own uh, style, I think that really helps. Not only would you look good on social media and everything, uh, you are not going to buy something that is not going to suit you, or something that's going to disrupt your wardrobe. So that could be one way of reducing your purchase. Another thing, the main reason why people buy is because of what I was saying about the dopamine rush that you get. So the impulse purchases.
Yeah.
So if you can uh, spend some time thinking about it, like don't immediately purchase. Give it a day. Give it a day. You liked it? Okay, great. Give it a day. See if you still think of it.
The
See if you
next day.
still love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you can think of it, think that, okay, maybe I can buy. But always, you know, instead of trends and all of that, having that classic style and having that something that is high quality, which is something that you are building a bond with, So these are
Yeah.
all things that actually go very well with minimalism philosophy, where you're only bringing things that really bring value to your life. So you're very protective of your space. You're protective of your wardrobe. You're only bringing things that actually you would love to wear, you're comfortable in, and you look great in. So that takes time to build, and that doesn't mean that you go shopping now and you go and purchase more stuff and make that wardrobe. No, starting would be to shop from your wardrobe itself. Pick up the
Okay.
things that suit you, things that do not suit you, and separate them out. Create, maybe you can try to make capsule wardrobes, that rotate through seasons. You can have a winter wardrobe, summer wardrobe. When you're in summer, you can put away the winter wear, and then in winter, when you bring those things back, you almost get the same feeling that you have all these new clothes now. So
Yeah.
so those are some ways. Then thrifting is another great way of buying something that is already created. So you're not adding to the problem, because it's already produced, it's already out there.
Yeah.
Somebody has used it. And a lot of times, actually, it's not even used, because like I was saying, someone just purchased something because it was a 90% off, and they hate it once it's home. So it's just lying in your cupboard with the price tag on.
Yeah.
And you can just sell it off. Somebody else can use it. So it's a good way of making bucks as well. If you have a lot of clothing that is good, you can sell them off. If you don't want to donate, you can make some money off of it. Or you can do clothing swap, uh, share it with your friends, and it's a
Yeah.
fun event that you can do. In fact, I'm planning to do that in the local event as well. So other than that, uh, renting is another option, especially for like special occasions. If you want to, usually people end up buying a party wear. They wear it for one party and then that's it. So you can rent for it. You're saving money, you're saving resources, and then it
Yeah.
goes back. It I mean, you have to think of that clothing also as something that has value, something that has purpose. If you're using it just once, you're kind of diminishing its purpose. Instead, you're giving it more life. You're allowing it to be shown off in other places. So thinking of it in that way also is a nice way of uh, having that attachment with your clothing, rather than buying stuff that you don't even remember.
Right.
It's nice to have few things that you really like, and it brings value to you, and you're giving it value. So,
Okay, so just to recap your solutions, build your own style, have your own personal style, create your own wardrobe, buy less, and use what you already have. So your idea is to tackle this problem by not going out and like buying everything.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
you have enough, and that's good, right?
That's good. And because you're not buying so often, when you do purchase, you can spend a little extra buck and buy something that's high
Right.
quality or something that follows sustainability principles. And in that way, you're actually encouraging a brand that is following these things. You're helping people
For sure.
get right income
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah. So earlier we spoke about different fabrics like cotton, rayon, polyester, etc., that are not really great materials because they use a lot of natural resources that actually humans need. So what are some examples of sustainable materials or fabrics?
So, hemp is a great alternative to cotton. It's very
Okay.
comfortable, it grows very easily, and it naturally has some properties because of which you don't need pesticides for it.
Oh,
So
that's good.
yeah, so that's amazing. It grows really fast, so uh, you know, production, it doesn't take too long,
Okay.
and it's very comfortable. So hemp is an option. Bamboo is another option that's fast growing and does not need a lot of fertilizers and stuff. It pretty much grows by itself.
Is it less
So
water waste as well? Because cotton is a
definitely,
lot of water
definitely.
waste. Okay.
Cotton is, yeah, this can't be compared with cotton at all when it comes to water. So bamboo, then there is something called model, which is it's, I think it was wood pulp based, but it is semi-synthetic. That's very comfortable. I have something in that, and it's like super comfortable. I just pack it and take it with me everywhere. So then, uh, oh, I can't remember what else was there. Uh, oh, linen, of course, my favorite.
Linen.
Yeah, linen is also, it's classic. It just looks amazing. It's comfortable. It's perfect for our weather. In India,
Right.
it gets hot. It's perfect for our weather, and it's it, it's just one of my favorite materials. I have a bunch of them. It's completely biodegradable, and it has some
Okay.
antibacterial properties, and it's good actually for even for people who have sensitive skin. It's good. So linen is another option. Then
So we have linen, hemp, bamboo.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
organic
good.
cotton is good in terms of no chemicals because of pesticides, but the water problem is still
It's
exists.
still, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a
So that's the
lesser.
biggest problem.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But definitely
So
hemp, linen, and bamboo are better than
it
organic
is
cotton too.
definitely, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. But they are a
That's
bit
great.
more expensive as well. So that is the so that's why I
Yeah.
always say that you should first work on reducing your consumption. So once you reduce your consumption, then you can actually invest on things that are better quality and better for the planet and everything. So
Yeah. Speaking on what you just said, that clothes that are sustainable are a little bit more expensive than fast fashion. I think one of the biggest things that attract us towards fast fashion is that it's very inexpensive. So how can you convince somebody who shops from fast fashion stores? Because sometimes like they're students or just people who are on a budget, they can't really afford sustainable fashion, but they also want to support the cause. But so like what is that like that psychological impact? Because you even spoke about thrifting as a solution. But, some people have that psychological thing that, oh no, I want to buy a new thing. I don't want to own something that's been previously owned by somebody else. So, like, what are those, like, how would you, like, sort of influence somebody like that when it comes to the money part of the fast fashion?
So thrifting has its own charm too, because it's a treasure hunt kind of thing. You end up with something that nobody else has. It's a one piece thing, and many times what you get is a vintage piece. So it has its own benefits, its own dopamine kick. So a lot of people get addicted to thrifting as well. So so. About something that is already used. I mean, I don't know how much it should affect someone, because I mean it depends on people, but a lot of times you can also buy something which is completely unused. So there are some platforms where you can log in to buy secondhand, and they have the option of new with tags. So which means basically somebody bought it, but they don't like it, so they are selling it off. And another thing to really know is that because people are into over purchasing, most of these clothes, even though they're used, they're not really used. They must be used once.
Okay.
So it's as good as somebody tried it out in a shop or something like that. So it's interesting once you start finding, especially for students actually, because you save so much money as well in the process, because it's like less than half the price. So.
So thrifting is a good option. And also, this is something that you mentioned before, but I want to give a recap because we're talking about the money aspect of fast fashion, is that yes, sustainable fabrics, clothes might be might be a bit more expensive, but they also last longer, like very long, right?
Yeah. They last longer, and I mean, the reason why it is more expensive is because they're paying people what they deserve, and they're taking precautions in every step to ensure that the effect on the planet is less. So yeah, it's not easy to do. It's definitely not easy to do. So.
It's not, but I think baby steps.
Yes. Yeah.
So another thing you spoke about when we were talking about thrifting, but I want to know, does buying or thrifting, like buying secondhand or thrifting, really break the cycle of brands producing more and more clothes? Because that's like, yes, we can, like make our own habits of buying less and all of that, but I also feel the brands are bigger, like they're the ones who are making all these clothes, right? So will this whole cycle really stop them, like stop this mass production of clothes?
I think it does make sense, because of course, as an individual, we may feel that our steps are not going to be big enough, but we should also understand that we are customers, and they are the brand. So the brand is always listening to customers. They're always like, not even brands, even the governments. So you're either voting with your purse, or you're voting with the actual voting rights. So it's always important, two aspects. You have to have your voice out to your government, and you should have your voice out through your habits. So where do you invest? So why are these brands successful? Because we are funding them, we are giving them money, and we are buying something from them. That is why they are successful. So if we stop doing that, then it's a way for them to realize that no, this is not working with the youth. Okay, the next generation is not going to buy something that's so bad for the environment. So we have to improve our processes. So that's a way. Yeah.
That's great. I think we have some questions from the audience that they want to ask you. Let me just pull it up. So the first question is, and this is related to the voting and the government thing that you were talking about. Does the government have any regulations over fast fashion? Like, are they doing anything about it?
So the problem is that so government has regulations on not releasing chemicals that are untreated chemicals into the river, and all those kind of regulations they have. They do not have regulations on how much quantity is produced.
Okay.
That's up to the brand. So
Mm-hmm.
there's no way the government can control how much production happens. So neither are they going to restrict how much you can purchase.
Right.
So those sectors it doesn't affect. They can't do anything about it. About the chemical aspects of it, they do have regulations, but we all know that it's not 100% effective, and it it just ends up in nature anyways. So those are the issues.
Okay. Somebody also asked, are plant fiber-based fabrics a good option?
Yes, so those were the hemp option and the. Is there anything specific that they're asking for, or?
No, just plant fiber-based fabrics.
Yeah, so all these are plant based as well, as in hemp is, bamboo is, even the model fabric that's semi-synthetic, but it's pulp based. There are new things coming up, like there's a mushroom based leather that's coming up, uh, which could probably be used in place of leather. So
Because leather as
that's.
well is a very not a nice
Oh
material
yeah,
to
not
use,
at
right?
all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially in India, because it has a huge impact in India, because we are the biggest. We have the largest number of tanneries in the world,
Okay.
and tanneries they use really harmful chemicals like chromium, and there is documentation of it that people are literally standing in it and dipping the tanneries, the leather. So it's really bad for the workers, for their health, for their children, and of course it goes out to the nature. So yeah.
Okay. Another question was, what about the impacts of on millions of livelihoods of people hired in the industry if we don't buy clothes?
Um. So it. I mean, when you think of it, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be buying at all. You're still buying, but you're not buying so much that it's all going waste.
Yeah.
Uh, they are. There are still companies that would be paying them well, and they will still sustain. And the ones that are not paying them well and not giving them uh, any kind of security, uh, I mean, they have to find something else, I guess, which is
Right.
better suited. Yeah.
Right. I think another thing I would add to that is, especially in the fast fashion industry, they're not paying their workers at all, or
Very,
very
very
minimum, like
minimal.
below
Yeah.
low wage too.
Yeah.
So it's like even when we're over purchasing these clothes, it's not helping the livelihoods of these people,
Yeah.
right?
So
Yeah.
over purchase is the problem.
Right.
Purchasing right amount is not a problem. Because
Right.
you're over purchasing, they're over producing, and they end up working more than 12 hours a day. I
Yeah.
mean,
So basically, you can break the cycle. Like you watching this
definitely.
at home, you can break the cycle. Yeah. We have two more questions. Can eco-friendly products cost the same as those which are not?
Like I was saying, the reason, instead of asking why an eco-friendly product costs more, the question should be that why a regular product costs less. And when you
Yeah,
ask that question, you will understand why this is costing more.
that's such a good
Because,
point. Yeah.
yeah, because you're just cutting corners on so many things,
Yeah.
on the quality, on because
Yeah.
in the regular industry, your target is just to reduce the prices.
I see.
So
Yeah. That's a good perspective. Because usually when we compare something and we're like, oh, this only costs like 50 rupees and something is like 200 rupees, you're like, wait, why? So you think like the 200 rupees thing is the scam, but it's actually not. It's like the reverse.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. So our last question, and then we'll wrap it up. If anybody has any more questions, they can ask. But somebody asked about recycled plastics, and what about artificially developed silk, and what is the most polluting aspect of the garment industry?
I think recycled plastic, I think we already covered. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the second one was, what was it? I'm sorry.
The second one was just like what is the most polluting aspect of the garment industry?
The most polluting aspect, like different, actually it's polluting in every stage, if it's not done sustainably, it's polluting in every
Mm-hmm.
stage.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it's polluting if it's cotton, then it's polluting from the raw material itself. If it's polyester, then it's fossil fuels. Uh, Coming to industries, the chemical dyes that are used and the other chemicals for treatment, those are polluting. It's bad for the health of the workers as well as when it goes out into the nature. Then coming to microplastics, that is another aspect. When you're using something and when you're washing it, when you're washing any polyester, uh, minute pieces of plastic. Basically, it's plastic. Polyester is just plastic.
Yeah.
So that goes along with water, and that ends up in the oceans. They are
Mm-hmm.
not they do not they're not biodegradable, so they're basically going to the water forever. So those are other issues, and they microplastics is actually, they haven't documented it yet as to what are the impacts on human, but it's already found in human body. They have in fact found it in a fetus as well. So yeah, so it's pretty alarming, but they have the research on what is the impact of it is yet to be known.
Mm-hmm.
So
What
uh,
about recycled plastic? Isn't that like don't they use recycled plastic to make like more fabric material? Like, do you think that's a good thing or it's just not
I think it is a
helping?
good thing. Of course, it's a good
Okay.
thing. It is a good
But
thing,
then
but like I
wouldn't
was
that
saying,
also can contribute to more microplastics because then that material is plastic?
yes, definitely.
Okay.
Anything that you use that is polyester, plastic based, synthetic based, will release microplastics. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but then we don't have. That's why I was saying that we don't have choice for certain things. Like if you're making a backpack, or if you're making a raincoat, or you want something which has elasticity, you do need a synthetic material.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in those cases, you don't have an option. So in those cases, if you're using recycled polyester rather than virgin polyester, then it's better.
It's better. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. I think you did a great job of explaining a lot of topics on fast fashion. I got to learn a lot of things I didn't know about. So thank you so much for joining
Thank
us
you.
and
Thank you for
helping
having
us
me.
and the youth. Could you just like talk about your experience with us
Sure.
very
I think,
quickly?
yeah, I think you guys are like really doing a great job of, because more than anyone else, youth has to be aware of these issues, and they are basically the people who are going to, be on the front line.
Yeah.
May it be facing the issues of what we have created, or maybe any changes that can come in the society. So youth is extremely important. That's basically the future of the world.
Yeah.
So you are empowering them. So that is amazing initiative, and it was really great working with you. It was nice talking to you today, and
Thank you. It was nice talking to you as well. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for joining. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll speak to you later.
Bye.
Bye.